Hey guys, Luton here, and today I thought I'd answer a question I get asked all the time, which is what games am I most excited for, which games am I most looking forward to? Now, there's not that many actually, because it takes quite a lot for me to be truly interested in a game, so I'm going to run you down through. Some are obvious, some perhaps you haven't even heard of. I've got to start off, of course, with Hardline. It would be stupid for me to say that I'm not looking forward to the game. Hardline, I think, has got a genuine potential to kind of springboard off the back of Battlefield 4. There were obviously so many issues with Battlefield 4 at release that people have complained about. We don't even need to go into it. But Battlefield Hardline is in the very strong position that it can learn from those mistakes, correct them, and the fact that they delayed the release, the fact that they've got the CTE going on, it all comes together to put it in a particularly strong place. That combined with the fact that the way in which the game feels and operates, I think has the potential to push it in a much stronger place than Battlefield 4 was. On the other side of things, if we still continue to see the deterioration of team play and objective play that we've seen with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and if that downward spiral of just total idiots continues, people just fucking around in the game and not really playing the game, that's going to be a big problem for me. And to be honest, Hardline, I think, is going to be that knife edge of, are we at a point where we can actually see some proper gameplay, or is it just deteriorating? One thing I do plan to do is to set up my own server from day one in the Hardline, so that there can be a place for people that want to play the objective can come to, and I'm hoping that, again, that's going to give a huge benefit to me and all of the guys, you guys that watch. We can all get on there, play some objective games, and hopefully that's going to be a great position for that game to go forward with. Okay, then next up, of course, Alien Isolation. This one was kind of a surprise for me, because I had a vague interest in Alien Isolation a while ago, mainly because it focused around that kind of single player, the original movie, and so it was going to have that different feel to it. And I had discussed years ago with friends, like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if somebody would make a game of that first movie? And I remember us discussing and people saying, oh yeah, but how would you do it? How would you do it? Because it's just a single person evading the alien. How is anybody going to make a game out of that? Well, they've done it, and I was really surprised when I went to play it the other day. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I didn't know how it was going to play out, whether it was just going to be classic survival horror shock, shock surprise, and those kind of moments where they kind of like, haha, and then you're like, oh yeah, I got scared. No, it's not like that at all. I was kind of surprised about how enthusiastic I have been about the game, actually, because they really have been very clever in how they have created that game. They've been very clever in how the AI responds. A lot of people are sort of saying like, oh, you're just going to evade the alien, it'll be really obvious, etc, etc. It's not, because the alien doesn't follow a set path. That's one of the key things with it, and also its sensibility, like the way in which it senses you is both audible, visual. It kind of almost can predict sometimes. It will see how you behave in a certain way and then respond to that. You can't just generically distract it. If you throw a flare, the first time you throw the flare, it'll go over and it'll stare at the flare and it'll be like, what is this? The next time you throw the flare, it will remember that, it'll be like, okay, this isn't what I'm looking for. So it'll look at it, maybe it'll be partially distracted, and then it'll just come straight to where you threw the flare from. So you have to be very careful about when you use these distraction tools and so on. And then not to mention the fact that there's other things like the synthetics they have in the game, and the whole way in which it plays out. It was a terrifying experience. It was not like other survival horrors. So I'm really excited for Alien Isolation, and it's very soon, October 7, that's coming. Okay, next, and perhaps the game I'm most excited for, Far Cry 4. Now, Far Cry 3, you guys will remember on this channel, Far Cry Fridays. Far Cry Fridays was a kind of a small viewership, but a really dedicated viewership on this channel. Far Cry Fridays was a huge part of my channel early on. And I know that there's a lot of you guys who probably still watch and are still excited and want to know, will Far Cry Friday come back? Far Cry Friday will come back with a vengeance. Far Cry 4, I'm going to be day one. We're going to do like a Far Cry marathon day one. I'm going to LP the hell out of this game. I'm very excited for it. Not to mention the fact that, as you guys remember, I have been to Nepal and I've actually been around those environments. So even then it has this kind of like memory aspect for me. So I'm going to be really excited. I'm going to get to play it, obviously, EGX this week. I'm really looking forward to Far Cry 4. It's going to be almost my game that I want to play the most this year. So I can't tell you how excited I am for that game. Everything in it looks very classic Far Cry, you know, it's kind of crazy, but sort of lush environments, and just the mechanics look amazing, the weapons look fantastic. The only thing I kind of do say is that, you know, Nepal is actually a very peaceful place, so it seems kind of weird there's all these armed guys going around, but, you know, it's all part and parcel of Far Cry, and it's all to do with the kind of characters and the story. So I'm hugely excited for Far Cry 4. It's going to be a big game for me. Okay, of course, the next one will be Star Citizen. You know, you can't escape the fact that I'm very interested in Star Citizen. There's still loads of question marks about the game. You know, is it going to be able to perform? Is it going to be able to succeed? You know, but we're moving forward more and more and more, and they continue to expand and they continue to develop. They've just brought in the racing modules. You know, we've got the kind of Arena Commander stuff going on there already. So they are kind of moving forward with measured steps, and they seem to still be very confident that they can fulfill all this. I've seen many people critiquing the game and saying, like, this can't happen, they're never going to be able to succeed. Well, you know, that's all very well and good, but if you have that attitude, then nothing ever gets done. You know, you never move forward. You never kind of, you've got to have that vision, you've got to have that sort of drive to try and make something. And so with that in mind, I'm very hopeful and mindful that they're going to actually be able to create that game. Star Citizen, the scope of what they're trying to do is massive. And if they can pull it off, it's going to be astonishing. And I think, you know, you've got to have that hope. You've got to want something truly amazing. And I really am, you know, looking forward to seeing what they can do, especially going into 2015. So, you know, time passes very quickly and we're already sort of rolling on with that game. So Star Citizen, there's so much to talk about with it. You don't even know where to begin. So I'm very much looking forward to Star Citizen and seeing what they can do in the next 6 months. Okay, the next game you may have seen some things about, or maybe you haven't seen anything about. It's a game called Firewatch, and I actually picked up on it quite a while back. In fact, I actually picked it up when they first announced it, because somebody messaged me and said, hey, you would like this game. Even though it was basically, they hadn't had any gameplay out at all, it was almost just a premise. I kind of stumbled upon it. And I say Firewatch, it looks a very intriguing game. It looks Journey-esque. It's got that kind of vector coloration going on there, and I really love that. It's got minimal artwork style, which is something that I particularly enjoy. Having seen now the gameplay that they released, the characters are a little bit more cartoonish than I expected. In fact, I didn't, in my own mind, didn't actually even expect to see any sort of character animation. I was expecting it to be more of a kind of sort of Riven Mist experience, where you're kind of like first person, but you don't see your own sort of arms, appendages or anything like that. But it is actually looking a bit more like that. I have to say, I'm not so sure about how I feel with that now, because the narrative seems very kind of gritty, realistic, adult, and then the characters seem very kind of cartoony, animated. So I'm not sure about how those two things are going to gel together. But overall, the game still looks amazing. We don't have a lot of information about it. It's kind of a mystery, and you're in this forest, you're in a Firewatch, you know, tower station, but apparently then you kind of explore, and one thing is leading you into another. So I don't know. We don't know the whole story, but it's a narrative, and the environment, the way it's designed, the way the whole kind of mood and feel of it is very much appealing to me, and that's why I'm very interested in this game. It's kind of mysterious, like where the game is going to go. I'm hoping it could be much more than we could imagine, so I'm really interested to see where Firewatch goes, and I'm watching it very closely, and I'm going to play it as soon as I can. So Firewatch, go check it out if you haven't. I'll put the links below for all of the things today, so go and have a look at that. Okay, the next one up is something that people keep asking me about all the time. Yes, Civilization 5 Beyond Earth. Of course I'm going to play it. Of course I'm very interested in it. For those of you that don't know, I do have a second YouTube channel, and I do a lot of, well, not a lot of, I do LPs and I do playthroughs, and it all kind of goes hand in hand with my streaming for Twitch. And Civilization is one thing that's quite big on there, sort of people watching and getting involved with Civ. So Civ 5 Beyond Earth, I'm particularly excited about. There's a lot of detail in the game. It basically is a transition of Civilization 5, and they've added in some bits and pieces. So it's kind of like an expansion. I wouldn't say it's a DLC, because it's not. It's an expansion. It's like, you know, another variation of that game kind of expanded upon. And of course the idea is that in the science victory in Civilization 5, when you take off in the spacecraft, the space shuttle, this is kind of a continuation of that story. It's what happens next when you leave the planet and you move off into other worlds. There's a lot of detail that they're putting into it, and again, I'll put the links in there. Their own YouTube channel that they've got, and they're putting out videos all the time explaining how the game is going to work, all of the details that are in there, and it's really exciting to see what they're actually going to be doing with that game. So Civ 5 Beyond Earth, I'm very, very, very much looking forward to, and it will be coming to my streams, and it will be coming to my second YouTube channel. Now, this is actually a game that I'm very much looking forward to and playing, but it's on early access already, so it's actually kind of out already. This is another sort of independent game, and it's called The Long Dark. Now, if you've not seen about this, The Long Dark is basically, it's kind of like, it's sort of an end-of-the-world survival, but that's kind of hinted at. And you are essentially like in a cabin, you're out in the wilderness, and it's all about your survival. Think kind of DayZ, but again, combined with that kind of vector coloration style. And it's all about basically just your survival and your ability to kind of move and interact with that environment. There's something about these games where you're sort of by yourself and you're alone and you're trying to survive. It's just very appealing, and it kind of comes back to that whole journeyscape aspect thing again, where you have this very personal relationship with the game, and again, just the kind of the mood and the tone and the music and the kind of environment and the art with the game, it's just very appealing to me as a player. That's the kind of games that I do love. I love these kind of slow-paced, interactive experiences where you can really immerse yourself into the game. Okay, and then last up, I'm going to throw in The Division. Now, The Division, I'm not entirely sure where I sit with it. I want to play the game, and I'm kind of interested about how it's going to play out. But it's third person, and Tom Clancy games I've never been totally on the line with. They sort of, I enjoy them, but they don't always have the bits and pieces that I want them to have. But this game is looking pretty good. The graphics, the environment, everything about it, the sort of the setting, the premise, I'm enjoying. There are some aspects that I'm not entirely sure about. It feels kind of like a static environment, like you're being led down a corridor from what I have seen. Could be wrong about that, but it feels quite linear, and sometimes a game can be linear and you don't feel it, and sometimes it can and you do. And when you do, that's a problem for me, because if the environment is designed to really sort of block you in, and from what I've seen, these bits where they're running down the road and there's kind of almost, organised cars parked at intervals to block you off from moving around in any other direction than this one line, that's an issue, because it feels like you're just going from point to point to point. So if that is not the case throughout the entire game, then I think it can do well if you have sort of more opportunity to explore a little bit, because you are meant to be sort of dropped into the city environment. From what I've seen so far, though, as well, it feels a little bit like the game looks a little bit kind of Escape from New York-esque. You're kind of in this urban environment and you're sort of trying to survive against these guys that you've been sent to take out. So it has a lot of things that appeal to me. The art style, the look and feel is good, but there's other things like I've seen where they're shooting the guns and they sort of seem to be firing vaguely in the direction but not really hitting it. Again, I don't know whether that's the people playing or whether that's just the way the game is designed. I've got a lot of questions about The Division. It could be, one that I super enjoy, or that I don't. So I really kind of want to expand on that and sort of see how I feel about it. But I have an interest in it and I am looking forward to it, so that's why I'm putting it in here. Very, very lastly, I just want to add a note in that obviously GTA 5 is coming to the PC, and I am excited about that because I just think it's going to be some fun times, and you guys might be surprised because I complain all the time about the silly, funny moments, BS, they're looking rolled off a cliff, all that kind of crap. But with GTA 5, I feel like that's the kind of the whole premise of it, and I, from the video I posted the other day with me and my brother playing, I kind of always really enjoyed playing with that. GTA 5 has never been a serious game, and therefore I don't interpret it as such. I think that's really the point. There's other games that I consider to be serious, the kind of tactical FPS stuff. That's, I feel, the way you should approach those games. Whereas GTA 5, it's always been like a lampooning nonsense. GTA 5 is just a hilarious sort of parody of itself almost. And so with that in mind, it's great. You are meant to sort of drive along the roads as fast as you possibly can, go flying out the windscreen, go off of an overpass, land, take out 2 police, steal the car. It's that kind of insane craziness. And so for GTA 5 on the PC, I'm very excited about it because it's going to be a great multiplayer experience. It'll be great for streaming. It's going to be, I can imagine running a regular weekly series for GTA 5 where we all just get on and have like crazy fun times. So I'm looking forward to that from that point of view. So guys, what do you think about my selections today? Any of those that you're excited about? Tell me why in the comments below. Any of the games that I haven't mentioned that you're particularly interested in and you think that I should take a look at, drop that down below as well. Be happy to read and find out about them. And then once I'm back from EGX this week, hopefully I'll be able to give you guys some more specific information about some of those games, my experiences, how I found them, how I felt about them, and again, perhaps some more new gameplay in the future. But a lot of these games are kind of very, very close to coming out, so it's not going to be too long we have to wait before we can actually get hands-on, just get straight into them, playing, getting feedback, videos out here. So some exciting times coming up and some very, very good games coming up as well. Thanks for watching today, guys. Rate the video as always, helps me out so much, and I'll see you next time for some more content here with me, LT. Oh no, this is going to be bad. Oh! Get out quick!
Oh no way!
I thought you should have jumped as you got out. Yeah, you're still fine.
You're bleeding.
Oh god. Okay, let's go find another car.